Pollution. It's a word we hear all the time, right? But it's so much more than just some big abstract headline. It's actually woven into almost everything we do every single day, affecting the air we breathe, the water we drink, often in ways we don't even see. So let's kick things off with a simple question to get us thinking.
Seriously, think about it for a second. That old phone you've got stashed in a drawer somewhere and the plastic wrapper from a snack you ate earlier today, they seem like they're from completely different worlds, don't they? But they share one really important identity. And understanding that is the key to this whole topic.
So what is that shared identity? Well, it's the very first piece of the puzzle. See, to really get a handle on pollution, we have to start with the basics, with the stuff we create and leave behind every day.
That phone and that wrapper? They're both waste. Simple as that. The definition is pretty straightforward. It's anything we don't have a use for anymore. But just stop and think about how many things fit that description every single day, from just one person. Now multiply that by a whole city, or a country. That's where the real challenge begins.
Here's the thing, though. Not all waste is created equal. Nature's got a pretty good recycling system for some stuff, right? We're talking about biodegradable waste. Things like food scraps or fruit peels that can be broken down and returned to the earth. The real problem is on the other side of the chart, non-biodegradable waste. Your plastic bottles, your glass jars. This stuff doesn't just disappear. It sticks around for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of years.
And this is the exact moment that waste becomes an even bigger problem. When these harmful substances, we call them pollutants, get into our environment, they start to mess with its natural quality. That process, that contamination, that is pollution. It's our world getting degraded, piece by piece. Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's start with something we do thousands of times a day without even thinking about it. Breathing. The air all around us might seem clean and invisible, but it's facing a very real threat. You see, air pollution isn't just one thing. It's more like a nasty cocktail of invisible gases like CO2 and methane mixed with something called particulate matter. And what's that? Well, think of them as these microscopic little specks of dust, smoke, and ash. They're so tiny they can sneak right past our body's natural defenses and get deep into our lungs.
So where's all this stuff coming from? Well, we all know the obvious culprits, right? Car exhaust pipes, factory smokestacks. But get this, some of it comes from places you'd never expect. Just the normal wear and tear on your car tires releases fine particles into the air. And yeah, sure, we can't do much about natural sources like volcanoes, but it's pretty clear that the vast majority of this pollution is coming from us.
And when all those pollutants just hang there in the air, you get one of the most visible signs of air pollution, smog. The name says it all. It's literally a mix of smoke and fog. This nasty haze can just blanket entire cities, especially in the winter. And it's not just ugly. It can trigger really serious breathing problems for millions of people.
All right, so from the air, let's turn to another resource that's absolutely essential for life, our water. The pollution here is often much less visible than smog, but believe me, it is just as dangerous.
Let's just trace the path of a common pollutant. Say you're at home washing your clothes with detergent. That water, now full of chemicals, goes down the drain. It mixes with all the other sewage, and in a shocking number of places around the world, that water flows completely untreated straight into the nearest river or lake. It's like a direct pipeline from our homes right into the ecosystem.
And of course, it's not just our homes. Industries discharge this toxic chemical waste they call effluents. Huge catastrophic oil spills can cover the ocean's surface, basically suffocating marine life. And then there's something called thermal pollution. This is when power plants dump superheated water back into rivers. This creates these warm spots that hold way less oxygen, turning them into dead zones where fish and plants just can't survive.
So we've covered air and water, but the damage doesn't stop there. Pollution is also seeping into the very ground beneath our feet. And, this might surprise you, it's affecting the sounds all around us. Let's dig into these two.
You know, our soil has pretty much become a dumping ground. It's absorbing industrial chemicals, all the everyday trash from our cities, and a massive overload of fertilizers and pesticides from farms. And here's the scary part. Harmful chemicals like DDT don't just stay in the soil. They get absorbed by plants, which then get eaten, and boom, it's in our food chain. Even waste from hospitals can end up leaching dangerous materials into the ground.
Now for a threat that's less common but incredibly powerful, radiation pollution.
This one is completely invisible. Radioactive materials from places like nuclear power plants release these high-energy particles that can cause absolutely devastating long-term health problems for anyone who's exposed.
And then there's noise. You know that feeling when you're trying to study for a big test and your neighbor decides it's the perfect time to throw a loud party? That distracting, annoying, makes you want to scream sound? That is noise pollution. It's basically any unwanted sound that messes with our ability to focus, to talk to each other, and it can even impact our health over time.
Okay, so we've looked at the problems in our air, our water, our soil, and even in our soundscape. I know, it can feel like a lot, maybe even a little overwhelming. But understanding the bigger consequences of all this is actually the first, most important step toward fighting back.
So let's connect a few dots. Remember those air pollutants we talked about, like sulfur dioxide that comes from burning fossil fuels? Well, that stuff doesn't just disappear into space. It rises up, mixes with water in the clouds, and then it comes back down to Earth as, you guessed it, acid rain. It's a direct consequence of what we put into the air.
And the effects are just devastating. Acid rain can wipe out entire fields of crops, it can corrode the paint on our cars and buildings, it even eats away at priceless historical monuments. I mean, the beautiful white marble of the Taj Mahal is slowly being yellowed and damaged by acid rain. It's a heartbreaking symbol of just how far pollution's reach can go.
Another huge global consequence is the greenhouse effect. You've probably heard of this one. Basically, polluting gases like carbon dioxide act like a heat-trapping blanket around our planet. They let the sun's energy in, but they don't let as much of it escape back out. The result? A slow but steady rise in the Earth's temperature. What we all know as global warming.
And way up in the atmosphere, there's another problem: the thinning of our ozone layer. Think of the ozone layer as Earth's natural sunscreen. It protects all of us from the sun's most harmful ultraviolet rays. But certain chemicals, especially CFCs, which used to be in things like refrigerators and aerosol spray cans, have literally been eating away at it, punching holes in our planet's protective shield.
So what do we do about all this? How do we fight back? Well, it's really a two-front battle. On one side, you have governments bringing in big changes, like stricter emission standards for cars and promoting clean energy. But on the other side, you have us. Our individual choices are just as important. Things like choosing public transport, using less plastic, and even something as simple as switching off your engine at a red light. It really all adds up.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We've seen how pollution comes from countless different sources, and so many of them are tied to the way we live. The problem feels massive, complex, global. But if pollution is the question, maybe, just maybe, the answer starts with the small conscious choices that each and every one of us makes every single day.